Hello, Tom here once again, doing another one of these. I haven't done an in the cockpit video for a while. There's no real drama as to why. It's just that the sticky pad for my Technologic dual lensed camera actually fell off my helmet, and I just never got around to putting it back on again. But you know, as driving standards here in the UK, and I'm pretty sure around the world from some of the stuff I've seen on YouTube, as driving standards continue to fall, plummet even, it's always worth having a camera on your helmet, just because if the worst does come to the worst, then you've got some kind of backup. It's not just like your word versus the driver or the pedestrian or the other motorcyclist who did something a little bit untoward, shall we say. But yeah, here I am out in the grey November murk. We are heading into the dreaded winter season now. But as somebody who rides and enjoys riding all year round, I'm not one of the kind of people who just puts my bike away for the winter. And I'm, as you can see, hopefully, out here in the grey on the big grey lump that is the ZZR1100. And the reason for this video really is not just for... Gee, come on, what are you doing? The reason for me being out today is not just for me to do a whimsical kind of, hi everybody, I'm out on the bike again, come and join me on a ride, because I'm not going to go to anywhere very scenic. Always nice to give a nod to the learners and keep that tradition alive, because I've noticed, I've cut myself off there from what I was saying, but I've noticed that it's becoming less common for bikers to actually return the nod, and I don't like that. I like there to be some kind of camaraderie between bikers, and yeah, the famous biker's nod seems to be dying out somewhat. I know in other countries people generally put their hand up, but here in the UK it's always been as long as I've been riding, a tradition or a custom for bikers to just give each other a nod, even nod one way or the other, just to say, yep, you are one of my two-wheeled brethren or sister out there on the roads, battling with the evil car drivers. Anyway, what was I saying? I was talking about the reason for owning a camera. Yeah, I'm out today just to test really what the well, this setup is like. I've got the camera back on the helmet. It doesn't have a microphone input, so what I've done is I've connected the iPhone to my Senna Striker helmet via Bluetooth, and I'm recording into the voice memo app on the phone. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me okay. I'm going to shut my front sort of wind guard on my helmet, just to maybe mitigate some of that wind noise. But the other reason for me coming out today is that I've done a bit of a highly technical modification to my helmet, to my Senna Striker. Oh, bit of a bump there. Don't worry, I'm not just going to talk continually about my helmet and the mods I've done to it and that kind of stuff. I will talk about this thing that I'm sat on, because it is a sumptuous beast. But yeah, just to go back to the helmet, there's no pin lock on this helmet on the visor, so it's meant to be treated. But as somebody put in one of the comments to my Senna Striker sort of overview video, they were asking, how does the visor with its anti-fog coating hold up now that the weather's getting a bit wetter and colder and darker? And the answer to that, my friends, is not well. Obviously, I had the pleasure of using this helmet when I initially got it, sort of in the summer months where it was a bit warmer and a bit brighter, and not as cold and not as wet. And the anti-fog coating actually did a pretty good job of keeping the fog off the inside of the visor. But as we've now entered the dreaded winter, as I just mentioned, I have noticed some deficiencies with the visor, and I did look online to see if I could get a pin lock enabled one for this helmet, but you can only really get them from the Senna website, and I don't think they have any kind of like distribution in the UK, so you have to kind of rely on getting one from Europe, and with that, you get the import costs, and it does seem like a bit of a faff. So anyway, off I went to Amazon looking for something that would hopefully, fill the gap. as it were, and I found this cheap knockoff adhesive pin lock thing that you just kind of stick to the inside of your visor. And yeah, it was 15 quid, and it's been an absolute, well, this is the first time I'm really riding it, or riding with it in the wet, but it seems to be doing the job quite well, to be honest. You just kind of peel one side of it off, stick it on the inside of the visor, and it acts as a sort of a fake pin lock without any pins, if you know what I mean. So it just kind of sticks itself to the inside of the visor, and it seems to be working quite well, to be honest. So yeah, that's really the reason I came out today. It was just to test this fake pin lock out, and it seems to be doing a really good job of keeping the visor visor fog free. So I'm quite happy with that. £15 versus £100 for a pin lock. I can't vouch for how long it'll last. Knowing my luck, it'll probably last about 2 weeks before it starts failing. But so far so good on this maiden trip. Let's see if I can get around this roundabout without the bus getting in front of me. So yeah, back to the ZZR then. Yeah, if you've looked at any of my other videos, you'll know that I've only had this for about 2 or 3 weeks, and it's been absolutely brilliant. It's been perfect. I've used it for having a bit of a bimble around at the weekends, just kind of having a bit of a blast, taking it out into the countryside and down country lanes and on the A roads and stuff. But I've also done some motorway riding on it. I've been using it to commute in the week, and for a big old beast, it's really nimble, considering how big it is, and copes well with traffic and stop starting, and even like getting to the front of a queue of like stopped traffic. It's been perfect. I was a bit worried about the width of it and the size of it, because it's a big old unit, this bike. And I was a bit concerned that it might not be very suited to trying to get through the congestion during like rush hour and whatnot. But it's been fine. I suppose it's like anything. It's like, a cat with its whiskers. It knows how like wide a gap it can get through by how its whiskers touch the sides of the gap. Allegedly, I don't know if that's true or not, or just an old wives' tale. But that's kind of how I feel about the ZZR. You kind of get a feel for it after you've been riding it for a while. And I probably shouldn't have put an indicator on there, should I? Because I was going straight ahead. But oh well. Yeah, so I've kind of taken to the ZZR quite easily, and it's actually a joy to own and a joy to ride. And I've been watching a lot of content online from other YouTubers who own these bikes, just to get a feel for the community out there and people's appreciation for these bikes. I did have a bit of a sort of, not a buyer's remorse, because obviously in my last video I spoke about how much the other previous owner had done to this bike, a guy called Head Race. He's done a phenomenal job keeping this thing getting it back on the road, recommissioning it. It's so smooth. It's just, and like I say, I repeat myself now, but it's an absolute joy. But I was looking at other stuff, to compare. I paid £2,500 for this bike, and I was looking at Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree and Bike Trader in the days and weeks after I bought this, thinking, oh, let's see what I could have had, kind of thing. I always do that. I always, torture myself, because like anybody else, I just can't be happy with what I've got, even though I've got an amazing bike here for an amazing price. I think we're all guilty of that, aren't we? What is it? Like the old fable with the dog who gets the piece of meat and he looks in the stream and he thinks the dog's got a bigger piece of meat, so he wants to try and bite the meat, and he drops his own piece into the water because he doesn't realise it's his reflection. If I'm talking absolute garbage now, I apologise, but I just remember this fable from this book I had when I was a kid, and that's kind of what I feel like sometimes when I buy a bike. I always look at, oh, what could you have had, even though I'm perfectly happy with what I've got. So, yeah, I'm waffling now, but that's what these kind of videos are all about, I think. So, just going back to the camera and indicators and stuff, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this. I do watch a lot of like moto vloggers. There's one called Spicy, and there's a couple of numbers after his name. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I think he lives quite near me. If you can't tell from the videos, I live near Southampton in the UK, and Spicy, he lives somewhere around Portsmouth, I can tell from the roads. But he talks about stuff like this, and he was talking the other day about, just driving standards in general, and people who ride or drive white. I think it was white Land Rover Evokes or Range Rover Evokes always seem to drive like, let's say, not very polite people. But one thing I've noticed, especially being on a bike and obviously being a vulnerable road user, not as vulnerable as a cyclist, granted, but still more vulnerable than the average car, is people's complete disregard for the use of indicators recently. Is it just me? Is it just me who's noticed this? Or is it actually a thing? Because, looking back on this video when I review it and like edit it and whatnot, I'll have a look and see how prevalent the use of indicators are, but I don't know why, but it really winds me up. Really winds me up. It's just the stalk is right by the steering wheel, so why people can't just put their hand down and use their indicators, it beggars belief to me, to be honest. So yeah, has anybody else noticed that? Or is it just me? And is it the same in your country, wherever you might be watching this? Now, I'm not getting the full sort of benefit of this bike just riding around on 30-mile-an-hour roads, and to be honest with you, I'm quite happy just doing that today because obviously the weather's pretty shit. And are you allowed to swear on YouTube anymore? Well, if you're not, then I'm not really bothered. Yeah, the weather's quite it's not the best, so I'm just going to take it slow. What was the point I was trying to make? I think the point I was trying to make is that the ZZR, upon which I am sat astride, is an absolute monster. I believe somebody in another video described it as a rocket or a missile, and I can quite comfortably and authoritatively say that is my experience also. Because you only have to give it a bit of a flick of the wrist and you are gone. You are gone down the road. I think there's something quite reassuring, I think is the right word. Let's see, this guy's going to... He's indicating, yeah. There's something quite... I don't know what it is, but when you're on a smaller bike and you get people who don't really know how bikes work and they think that all bikes are super fast rocket ships, and they sit right up behind you. Like if you might be on like a 125 or something, or on a 250, but the person behind you thinks that all motorbikes are fast and they should all go fast and they should all break the speed limit, and then they sit right up behind you because they don't realise that A, you might just want to be out of the speed limit, and B, you might not be able to go that fast because it's a small engine bike, but they don't know any different because they're ignorant. With this, it's almost the comparison I draw is like if you own a Ferrari, for example. You're quite comfortable just sitting at like the speed limit. You're not bothered about going above 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever that particular speed limit might be, because you can, and you're quite comfortable in the fact that you could literally just obliterate everything on the road if you in a straight line race if you wanted to. That's kind of what I feel like on this now. So anytime I get a boy racer come up behind me, or somebody in an Audi or a Mercedes come up next to me at the traffic lights and try and get away quicker than me, I'm just like, yep, see you later, you go. I'm quite confident in the fact that I know that this bike could absolutely obliterate you if I needed it to. So I'm just going to give it a little bit on this straight, just to demonstrate what I'm talking about. But I have to hold on, to be honest. I mean, it's just effortless. The engine's hardly ticking over. So, yeah, I mean, there's bags of speed. Like I said in my other video, the one where I introduced this bike on the channel, it can be quite frightening at times. Just knowing that there's actually all that extra power and potential. And all it takes is a flick of the wrist. It's just silly. But yeah. I don't treat it. I don't hoon around like an idiot. I'm pretty sensible out on the bike because I know what the consequences can be if you're not. So oh god, this looks a bit grim, doesn't it? These leaves. Just give him a thumbs up for being patient. I don't like these when you get like all these leaves kind of piled up in the middle of the road. It's a bit of a skid hazard when you're on a bike. So try to avoid them where I can. Sometimes it's impossible though. So when you slow right down and you've got somebody impatient right up behind you, it can be a bit hairy. Oh, bit of a bone shaker there. But yeah, just going back to the bike. The weather protection on this is fabulous. Again, because you've got those massive big fairings, you've got the big windscreen at the front, and yeah, I mean, just all you can do really is just forget about the world and sit back and enjoy the ride. Really, that's really what these kind of bikes are built for, aren't they? Sports tourers. So no complaints from me. I've done a couple of things to this bike when I can speak. I've done a few things to this bike since the last video. I have completely replaced all of the fairing bolts on the bike because a lot of them were, even though they were fine doing the job, they looked a bit tired. So I've replaced all those with stainless ones, which add something nice to the bike. I've also repaired the front mudguard. So the front mudguard on this bike, comes in two sections, and the rear section is where it bolts onto the fork leg. So on the fork, I can't really speak at the moment. I'm trying to concentrate on the road, but also I don't trust people you see in cars because they don't indicate anymore. So you can never tell if someone's going to come round or they're just going to go straight ahead. Yeah, where the rear part of the mudguard attaches to the fork leg, the hole had kind of broken where the screw goes through, and I thought, oh god, I'm going to fix this. So I tried to fix it with some washers, and it just wasn't the same. It was still rattling around a bit. But I found this stuff online on oh, it's 30 down here. Slow down. I found this stuff on Amazon. And I watched a couple of like infomercials on YouTube about it. It's called QB, I believe. It's like this sort of plastic welding glue stuff. And I was a little bit skeptical because the videos that I'd found on YouTube were almost like these like really over the top American infomercials. So it's like, yeah, put this stuff on anything and it'll fix it. And it showed him like fixing like a rubber band with like a little dot of this stuff, and it's meant to like create like a plastic. It's like meant to create new plastic around, you know, fixings and fairings and stuff. So I thought I'll give it a go. It's only like 10 quid or whatever. So I bought some, and to my absolute amazement and astonishment, it did exactly what it said it would on the tin, or on the bottle, or on the infomercial. And I was absolutely amazed, gobsmacked even, you could say. So I managed to fix the problem with my front mudguard using this stuff called QB glue or QB weld or something it's called. I'll put a picture up of it if I can remember to do so. But if you have any issues with your fairings on your bike, any whatsoever, you've got something that's cracked or something that's snapped, this stuff will fix it. It's unbelievable. I can't rate it enough, to be honest. And while we're on the topic of Amazon, just going back to the fake pin lock that I've had installed on this visor this whole time while I've been riding, it's absolutely brilliant. I can still see perfectly through this visor, even in the rain. I can see a little bit of fog around the edges where there's no pin lock, or no fake pin lock even. But yeah, it's brilliant. I'm so impressed. One of the reasons that I was really annoyed about this helmet, and you know the amount I've spent on it, was the visor, because it's great, as I said before, in the summer months, but when it gets to winter it gets a bit iffy, especially in the heavy rain. But so far with this sticky pin lock thing on, it's been great. So yeah, what else should I talk about? I mean, I can carry on going on about the ZZR if required. Oh, some bikers here. Hope they're all right. You all right? So yeah, this is it's just bags of fun, really. I feel a bit sorry for my Royal Enfield because I just it's like the neglected child. It's just not been ridden at all in the wet. I don't want to take it out just because of the because all the chrome all over it is just it's just a magnet for like crap and just dirt and rust and all that, and I just don't really want to deal with that. Don't really want to overtake on a blind bend, but .40 is the speed limit, and as I said in my other video, I'm not a hooligan, so I will abide by the rules, even though sometimes they are there to be broken. Might go left here. Now, I'm not one to pass judgment on what other people ride, but one thing I've noticed in all my time as a motorcyclist is that people who want their bikes to sound loud generally are making up for something. Now, that might sound like a controversial take, a hot take even, but I generally find that it's younger riders on smaller bikes who want their bike to sound bigger than it actually is, and they put these kind of aftermarket loud exhausts on, and you know, each to their own. I quite like stock exhaust, to be honest, on most of my bikes, just because, saying that, I've got tech exhausts on my Royal Enfield, which sound great, but they're not super loud or anything like that. But it's when you get these 125s that have got these like sports inverted commas exhausts on them, and they sound really loud, and then they're in like fourth gear before they're actually at 30 mile an hour, and you can just tell it's a 125 without even seeing the bike. No disrespect to the guys who were just near me then or behind me, but I suspect that's what's going on there, to be honest. But you know, I'm not a snob and I'm not a gatekeeper, so each to their own, but it's just an observation. Now, what will be interesting is if this is actually recorded, because like I said, I've had my iPhone connected to my helmet the whole time, and I just wonder if it's actually stayed connected and not gone into like sleep mode and just not recorded any of this. I think I'm going to head home now though, because I've tested out the pin lock and it's fine, and I've also just wanted to do a bit of recording because I haven't done it for so long. So I am going to head home now, and yes, I leave you on this rather grim and grey day. Here I am beneath a steel sky on a similarly themed and similarly coloured ZZR1100. So I'll leave a little bit of footage here, but for now, thank you very much for watching and listening to me waffle as per usual. But yeah, as ever, stay safe out there, stay upright, and happy riding.